excited to do our first video response to questions under the Ask Jilly banner. It was really cool because when I put out the call for questions on YouTube, and then I also posted that video on Facebook as well, I got hundreds of questions from you guys. So here's the plan. We're going to release these videos periodically, and I'm going to continue to answer questions, and so I'm just going to pick a couple for each video, and that way we can try to cover all of them over time. So if I'm not answering your question right away, hopefully I'll be getting to it down the road, because my plan is to work through and continue asking questions because I love to share with you guys. So to this first one, turns out a lot of you guys want to know a little bit more about me. For instance, one of the questions I got asked several times was how I got started beading. And the answer is kind of funny because I discovered beads at a quilt show, and I don't quilt. The story is that I had severe back problems for about 6 years and finally ended up having spinal fusion surgery. And I'm very lucky. I'm about 95% pain-free as a result of that. But in that recovery period, I was out of work for about 6 weeks, and I was gradually trying to build up my stamina towards the end of that as I was needing to go back to my desk job in the tech world. And so my mom and I decided to go to the Houston International Quilt Show. And neither of us quilts, but we really appreciate the art of quilting. And so we thought we would just walk around the convention center, get my walking, skills back up and get my stamina up. And so we're enjoying it. We're walking around looking at all the beautiful quilts. And then I saw this aisle, and it was the embellishments aisle. And it was I could practically hear the birds singing, and the rainbow came over this aisle. It was a moment that I will never forget. And it was because the entire aisle was full of beads. And I was that person it was my first exposure to the beads. And you know how they sell the temporarily strung strands of like gemstones and stuff? I'm looking at it I'm the person asking, well, how do you wear it? Thinking that where's the clasp? Thinking that it's a necklace, not realizing that it's just meant to be then restrung, into jewelry. My first encounter with the lampwork beads. You'll frequently see them on those little skewers, and then there was like a little $5 price tag off to the side, and I was the newbie who thought the $5 meant that you bought the whole skewer full of beads for $5 and not $5 per bead. We were all new once, right? Well, that was me. And I finally went towards the end of the aisle. I ran into a designer who had little peyote pins, and she was selling kits of these little peyote pins. And I wish I knew who this designer was so I could credit her, but unfortunately over the years I've lost the original pattern that I had found. And so I bought one of these kits, and honestly, I also found recently, I found the receipt for the very first seed beads that I bought that day, which I think is so cool because that was literally the first receipt that started it all. I'm going to blow it up and hang it in my office as kind of a memento. So anyway, I went home with this little kit, and I completely failed at teaching myself how to do peyote stitch, but I was really interested. And so I went and found my local bead store in Austin. It was called Nomadic Notions. Unfortunately, Nomadic Notions is no longer around. It closed in 2013. But I started taking classes, and I took every class that they offered. I took everything. I took wire work, and I took loom, and I took bead weaving, and I took stringing, and I took design classes. Just anything that they offered, I took. And over the next 2 years, I completely fell in love. And I remember sitting at my desk job, being so upset that I wasn't home playing with my beads that I was practically be in tears. I mean, that's how badly I wanted to be involved in the bead world. So I got a little bit lucky. One day my boss decided that she was going to give me a bad review, which I didn't deserve, by the way. And so I decided the heck with it, and I gave my notice that day. And in hindsight, I'm really glad that all happened, because I'm not sure I would have had the guts to quit my day job without that inciting incident. And so then I was like, okay, great, now what do I do? So I started working part-time at the bead store, Nomadic Notions, that I started learning at. The store manager talked me into teaching my first class. I remember standing up there in front of that group of 10 women for that first class and being so terrified. I was just shaking. I was afraid I was going to pass out. But you know what? It turned out I was kind of good at it. So over time, I started teaching more and more classes. I started doing more and more design work. I submitted some classes to teach at Bead and Button, which is the biggest bead show in the United States. Kind of on a whim, I thought there's no way they're going to accept me as a teacher, but they did. And so it's really just been persistence over the years that's gotten me to where I'm at. I'm now, let's see, all of this happened in, I discovered beads in 2001. And so it's been a 15-year journey to get to where I'm at now. And there were many times when I would finish the end of a year and I'd be absolutely dead broke again and think, oh my God, I'm going to have to get a day job. I can't continue to bang my head against this wall. And then something else would happen. It would keep me going a little bit longer. And so I would say it took a good 10 years of this in this industry before I really got to the point where I was an established name. I could make a living at it. I get people all the time who ask me how they can get to be where I'm at. And the answer is it's tough. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of time where you don't have an income. It's a lot of stress and scary moments. If you're super, super determined, you can get there. But it was hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's been hard. So that's how I kind of got to where I'm at. Next question was, what is the big rock in the background? I had several people ask me that. That rock in the background it's an amethyst geode. I bought that for my mother for her 60th birthday. And if you don't know, Tucson, in mainly the month of February, becomes the center of the bead and gemstone world. There are 50 or more shows that go on the entire month of February in Tucson. Some of them will be bead kind of things, but it's also some place that you can go to buy stones, and some people who are cutting their own stones. There's a lot of people who then sell these geodes, and some of the geodes are so big that you can stand inside of them. I can't afford those, but I could afford that really nice sized amethyst one for my mom for her 60th birthday. You'll notice that it's in my office now because I kind of stole it because it fit with my decor in my office so perfectly. So my mother's 70th birthday is not too far off, and I think that I might have to buy her a new one for her 70th birthday since I stole her 60th birthday present. So that's the answer to that. And then somebody else asked, where do you film? Well, the background that you see behind me is actually my office. And so that's where I'm doing all my daily office work. However, I actually film in my producer's home. So I film in front of a green screen. I'll throw a picture up of what I look like in front of the green screen. So one of the things you'll notice is that I no longer am able to actually wear any green colors because otherwise I would be a floating head and hands, which is a little sad because I actually wear a lot of green in my real life, but I have to purposely buy things that are not green so that we can use this green screen. This way, I can put any background I want behind me, which is great. So as a matter of fact, we are going to be moving into a new office in the next couple of months. So we're going to film a new background when we move into the new office that will include the new office space. So it's like you're hanging out with me. I actually really like that concept a lot. But yeah, so the place that I actually physically film, though, is in my producer's home. He has turned his entire living room into a film studio. We've got sound baffles on the walls and on the ceiling. There's lots of lights and camera setups and scaffolding and all sorts of stuff. So it's a really big deal, so that it doesn't come down and he lives with it like this. He's a great guy. So that's a little bit more about Jill and Jill Wiseman Designs on YouTube. I will continue answering your questions, so keep sending them in.